Hi guys, and welcome to today's video. Those of you that are new to my channel, my name is Maria, and today I'm going to be trying out 3 new releases. One is the Cle de Peau. It's the Radiant Fluid Foundation Natural. I've got the Giorgio Armani. It's the Eyeshadow Eccentrico. It's a face and eye palette. And I also picked up 3 of the new limited edition. They're the Chantecaille Lip Chic shades, and the 3 I got were the nude shades, and I'll wear one of those today. So I'm going to start off with the foundation. I have used this about 2 or 3 times and I really like it. This is the first time that I've used a Cle de Peau foundation. So I picked up the new one, and I also picked up their original one that's in the matte formula. So since I've tried this, this is a really nice foundation. It's spring here now in New Zealand, so I can still probably wear this for about another month. But after that, it probably won't have enough of a matte finish heading into the summer. Now, the matte foundation that I picked up, I will do that in another video and show you how that looks, because I also picked up for the first time some eyeshadows from Cle de Peau, so I'll put those ones on at the same time. So this Cle de Peau foundation has 35 mils of product, about 5 mils more than the average foundation. They normally have about 30 mils. It is made in the USA and has a shelf life. I think it is, yep, it's 24 months from date of opening. And it's in this gorgeous glass packaging. I'll just put that forward a bit and get it to focus. And just has a pull-off lid and a pump dispenser. And I got this in the shade 020 because I was trying to find out which shade would be right for me. There's, I think, 24 shades with this foundation, and I picked the one that had light to medium because they're normally the shades that I have. So this one is 020. It's actually a fraction too light, and it'll be okay with this foundation because for winter it's fine with my skin. But I picked up the matte foundation in 020 as well, and that probably is going to be a little bit light, but it's not ghostly white. I'll be able to bronze it up and make it work. Now on the website, this says that it is for 24-hour wear, and I don't know who wears foundation for 24 hours, but it's also infused with skincare ingredients, enough so that it says on their website that it will improve the appearance of your skin with use after about a couple of weeks. Now, I don't know about those skincare claims because I don't wear the same foundation for 2 weeks. I have too many, and others that I'm trying it out. But it is also infused with hyaluronic acid, so it gives that really beautiful, soft, moisturized feeling on the skin and doesn't feel heavy in any way. This is a light to medium coverage, and it does build really, really beautifully. This also has an SPF 25, but if you see my other videos, I don't rely on SPFs that are in foundation because I put on a lot of sunscreen, and that's the last step in my morning skincare routine. And it also says that it gives a beautiful radiant finish, and it does give a really lovely finish. I do powder this down though, but that's because of my oily skin. So I'm going to put a pump on the back of my hand to show you the consistency of the foundation. So it is slightly runny, not too thick. I'm just going to grab a foundation brush. I'm going to use the BK Beauty 101 to put this on with. And I already have some primer on. It's the Milk Hydra Grip Primer. This foundation does have a scent. So those of you that don't like fragrance in their foundation won't like this. It's not overwhelming really in any way, and it doesn't seem to linger. Well, not for me anyway. So you can smell it while you're applying it. And then when you're going to set the foundation and put on your other makeup, to me the fragrance has sort of dissipated by then. And because this is a moisturizing type foundation, just with not dabbing it back into any foundation, it's all gone what I pumped onto my hand anyway, but just the excess that's left on the brush, I will put some under my eyes and over my eyelids. I don't do this if it's a foundation sort of geared towards more sort of matte type of formula, because I find it too drying for under my eyes. But with this type of foundation, it's fine because it has that moisturizing formula in it. So that's with one pump of the foundation, and at this stage it does give a light to medium finish. Could possibly build it up slightly on my cheeks here. You can see slight bit of redness come through, but not too much. I'll just show you that it is buildable. I'm not going to put another full pump on, that would be far too much, but I'm just going to put a tiny bit more on my hand, and I'll just go over these areas here just so it goes towards more of a medium finish there, and it does build really, really beautifully. So this colour unfortunately is a tad too light. At this time of the year it's fine, I can bronze it up so it can make it work and it will look fine. The matte one that I got, I wish I had got in 030. So just for reference, usually when I buy a Dior foundation, it's in 2.5N, and I find that just slightly a bit darker than this foundation. But despite the fact that this is a little bit light, it feels really beautiful on the skin. It feels really light and it feels really moisturizing. And you could leave it like that, especially if you've got like more normal to dry skin. But with my oily skin, I know that with an hour or two, my natural oils will start to come through. So I do need to powder this down. So what I'm going to do off camera is I'm going to put on my concealer and my eyeshadow primer, do my eyebrows and also powder my face, and then we'll back and have a look at this new Armani palette. So I've set everything down with powder, and I've also put some bronzer on. I used the Chantecaille Bronzer, and this is in the shade Goss. This is one of my favorite bronzers, and it's really warmed up the foundation and it looks really good now. The foundation feels really nice. Like I said, I've powdered it down, so it feels, I just did a light dusting of powder. I didn't really buff it in with anything like the Sonia G Face 1 brush. I used the Longwear brush, this one, and used that. This is really fluffy, and just did light powdering. It doesn't really need a huge amount of buffing in, but it's enough with my oily skin. So now it feels like it's matte, but not too dry. Just has a really beautiful finish now. So let's get on to this eyeshadow palette. So this is the newly released, it's a limited edition, that's the Giorgio Armani. It's the Eyes to Kill Eccentrico palette, and this has 10 shades. Now I got this from Selfridges, and I did check the Selfridges website, and it is not in stock, and I don't know whether they'll be getting any more in. But this is such a beautiful palette, and it's a shame not to show you, and it is quite different. So this is the box that it came in. It is just really, really beautiful, and it's a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be. So this has 10 shades, and it says it's an eyeshadow and a face palette. And from what I can tell, it has 2 type of satin formulas, and the rest are shimmer type formulas. So it's a lot of product with 28 grams. It has a shelf life of 24 months from date of opening, and this is made in France. So the whole packaging is just really, really beautiful. So I will be keeping the box that this came in. And then once you take off the lid, there is the palette inside. So you can see how big the palette is. This is packaging that, I mean, there's a lot of products I buy that have beautiful packaging. But when I opened it, I did have sort of a wow moment. It really is beautiful. So I'll take it out so you can take a look inside. It is an unusual palette, and I like palettes that are set. They're just either a square or a rectangle shape, and they have the set shades inside. I like everything to be quite uniform. So I wasn't too sure when I first saw this palette, but it really is beautiful. So I'll show you inside, and it has a huge mirror because it's such a big palette. And these are the shades all sort of scattered round, and they have sort of like the formations of crystals inside. It really is beautiful, but there's no set pattern to it. So for some people, they might not like that. I used this palette yesterday, and because I couldn't help myself, I had to try it out. And it's really stunning, and the formula is really beautiful. So when I normally swatch shades in my video, I say I'm going to do them from left to right and top to bottom, so I can't really do that. But I will swatch them on my arm, just so you can take a look before I try these on. This would have to be one of the most beautiful palettes I own. It really is pretty, and the packaging, it is plastic, but it feels really, really sturdy. So I'll just hold this up a bit closer so you can take a look. So here are the shades, and it feels sort of more like these two here are more of a satin type formula. So you have the pinks and some red. You also got a beautiful apricot, some light gold, and the pinky shades, and more of sort of champagne colours here as well. They feel beautiful going on. Some are quite light. These two possibly more of topper shades. So I'm going to start off with the Rephr number 15 brush, and I'm going to go into this shade here. It's sort of like light apricot, sort of peachy colour, but it's really pretty. And I'm just going to put this through the crease and up above. When I finished my eye look yesterday, I thought it was sort of had this tropical sort of colour story finish to it, but it does look really, really pretty, and these do blend really beautifully. I am going to be using some of these shades for my blush today as well. Probably the more of the these two shades here that are the, what I feel are more sort of a satin type formula. It's probably what I'll use for my blush today, but I'll use them as well for the eyeshadow. I'll try and use as many of these 10 shades that I can. And I'm going to run that same shade, my lower lash line. I'll put on some other colours as well under here, but I'll run that shade under here as well. I'm going to use the Rephr number 14, and I'm going to go into this shade here. It's more of a pink shade, but it's quite pretty. You can see how much pigment picks up on the brushes. I just want to put that through here. And I'm going to use a Wayne Goss brush. This is the number 6. And I'm going to take this lightest shade here. I'll just turn this around a bit so you can see. The lightest shade here. And just put a tiny bit on the brow bone. And I will probably blend, can I even talk? Probably blend that in just a little bit later at the end. I'm going to take the Sonia G Crease Pro brush, and there's two type shades here, more on the purple sort of lavender spectrum. One's darker than the other. So I'm going to take the darker shade and just run that just through the crease here and just slightly above. And I'm going to use the Sonia G Blender Pro brush and use these two shades here. I'll do this shade first, and I want to start by putting that on the eyelid, and I think I'll run that shade all the way over. I'll lighten up the inner part with another shade. So for the outer corner of my eye, I'm going to take the Sonia G, this is the Worker 3, and go into this darker shade here and just put more of that just on the outer corner and slightly above the crease. Then I'm going to take the Chikuhodo, it's the F06 brush, and go back into this lighter pink shade and put more of this through the inner corner and out towards the middle. This is probably my favourite shade out of the whole palette, this one. I just think it's really, really pretty. So I'm just going to highlight my inner corner. I'm going to take the Rephr number 3 brush, and I'm going to go into this lightest shade down here. And we're going to use the same Rephr number 3 brush and put some darker colour on my lower lash line. So I'm going to use this shade down here. Then I'm just going to take the Chikuhodo, this is the blend brush, and just blend that the highlight shadow that I put on my brow bone, just to soften it all out a bit. So now I'm just going to put on some eyeliner. When you play around with this palette and using the different eyeshadow brushes and that, what worried me was that they were all going to end up sort of one big mess. You can see some fallout on the edges of the palette there, but they don't tend to merge together too badly. A bit of this shade here has moved slightly into this one, and some of this lighter shade maybe slightly over to here, but nothing as bad as I thought was going to happen. And that's what I sort of initially wasn't too sure about with this palette. But I think, and you don't need to go in very hard with your brushes. You can just lightly tap in there to get the colour. So there's no chance of it messing up or them sort of bleeding into each other, which I thought might happen. So I really love these colours. To me, they remind me, it's just very sort of a tropical sort of colour scheme, sort of like sunset colours, and they're really, really pretty. The shades go on just beautifully. So I'm going to put on some eyeliner and mascara, and then I'll be back and we'll use a couple of these shades for my blush as well. So I'm going to use the palette to use as the blush as well. I'm going to use the Chikuhodo, it's the F03 brush, and I was just deciding, I think I'll probably use maybe 2 or 3 shades. I think first of all I'm going to go into this shade here and see how that looks, and then I am going to put some more on top. But this formula blends easily. It blends like a dream. It really is beautiful. So I'm going to build more on this colour. And even though the colour that I just used does have that shimmer in it, it doesn't show as too much shimmer when I put it on my cheeks. It diffuses really beautifully. So now I'm going to do a touch of these two colours here. So I think I will start with this one. I'm just going to go very lightly, and this is probably where this palette is a bit more difficult, when you've got a blush brush, just the one that isn't too big, so it's not too much of an issue. So I just want to put a light dusting of that colour over the top, because I'm going to go in with the darker colour as well. But they are really effortless to blend. So for the final colour, hopefully it won't be an overkill, but I'm going to use this one down here. Again, I'm just going to just very gently tap the brush in. So especially when you use 3 different shades on top of each other, the shimmer really does start to come through. So if that bothers you, then probably just choose one of the shades to buff in. But the colours look really lovely, and I'm really surprised. I mean, they blended beautifully as the eyeshadow, but they blend out really beautifully using this brush as well. So I really don't need any highlighter because it has that shimmer through it. I did want to try one of the shades to see how it worked as a highlighter. So for this video I would definitely be stopping here, but I'm going to take a fan brush. It's the Rephr number 20, and I'm going to go into this shade here. I'm just going to do a light dusting, and just, I don't know whether this will show, and just put a light, yeah, it does show, so there's even more highlight there now. So even though that this brush is really soft, so you could choose one of the shades that you prefer for a highlighter. It definitely works really well as one. So for me, that is really quite shimmery and bright. So I'm going to take the Sonia G, it's a smooth buffer, and I'm just going to buff that in a bit. Probably wouldn't be blinding enough for some people, but it certainly is for me. And I like things to look possibly a bit more subtle, and buffing it in should help with that. And finally, we'll get on to the lipsticks. At the very beginning of the video, I said I picked up 3 of the new Chantecaille. This is the Lip Chic formula, and these are limited edition, but I had a look on the Chantecaille website and they're still available there, and they're also available from Beautylish as well, although I'm not too sure which shades are still available on the Beautylish website. So I got the 3 that are more described as nudes. So I got the shades Lantana and Honeysuckle, and the very last shade is called Dural. And what I'll do is I'll swatch these on the back of my hand so you can take a look, and then I'll decide which one I'm going to put on with today's eyeshadow. So here is the packaging of all the 3 lipsticks. These are beautiful. I picked up 3 because the Lip Chic formula, the Chantecaille one, is one of my favorite formulas. It's a cross between a really lovely moisturising lipstick and a lip balm, and they're just stunning formula. They have hyaluronic acid in them. They're supposed to give a plumping effect, and I don't know whether they really do that, but that hyaluronic acid just makes them really comfortable on the lips and a really beautiful moisturising formula. So I'll swatch these now. So this is Honeysuckle, this is the shade Durell, and the final one is Latana. All really beautiful shades, and they're all shades that I would wear as an everyday type of look. And I love the packaging of these. I just think they're absolutely gorgeous. So now I've just got to decide which one I'm going to put on today. For me, this eye look is fairly bold for me. So I will go with the most muted one, and I think that is Honeysuckle. So that is the one I will wear today. And here is the finished look. The foundation still feels really, really beautiful. I've had a couple of breaks while I've been doing this video, and I haven't had to powder the foundation down any more than I initially did. And it's not hot in the room today, but it's not cold either. So it's fairly warm in here, and I thought I may have to repowder it. So it's a good sign that I haven't had to yet. No doubt probably in another couple of hours I would have to repowder it. But the foundation itself feels really light. There are some foundations that can feel quite heavy, and this doesn't feel like that at all. It really feels like you haven't got anything on your face at all. It just feels like once you've applied it that you've just applied some really beautiful skincare ingredients, and overall it's a really lovely foundation. I just wish that I'd bought 030 instead of 020, although with the bronzer on it works and it looks fine. The palette is gorgeous. I love it because of the packaging. I know people that have bought this palette that aren't going to use it. They're just keeping it for a collector's item. I'm not as restrained as that, and I had to use it, and I'm really pleased I did. I think it's a really interesting palette. I think the formula of the palette is beautiful, and I love the colors of it. It's just such a really pretty look. I think they look a lot prettier than I thought they were going to when I first saw that this was released. And they also work really well as a blush too. I mean, I put 3 layers on, so I definitely got quite shimmery, and then I put on that extra to get a bit of highlight. But one of the 2 shades in here that you could use, and they're the more of perhaps a bit less of sparkle and more of satin, and that's these 2 shades here. So just one of those on their own, and you wouldn't get as much sparkle for your blush if that's what you didn't want. But the blush itself, I think, well, used as a blush, looks really lovely, and it blended out really beautifully too. There's not much really to say about the Chantecaille lipsticks. The Lip Chic formula is gorgeous. It's one of my favorites, and I'm slowly collecting quite a lot of shades in this formula. I don't normally buy matte lipsticks. I have a few, but my everyday go-to lipsticks are this type of formula. That's just what I feel comfortable with and what I like to wear throughout the day. And this shade here, Honeysuckle, is just really, really pretty. And overall, I'm just really happy with all of these purchases. Just wish the foundation was slightly darker, but apart from that, it is gorgeous, and really happy with everything that I bought. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time. Bye.